Impact Wrestling returns to the Chicago area Friday and Saturday, August 12th and 13th at Cicero Stadium. Impact presents Emergence on Friday, August 12th, which will air live on Impact Plus and YouTube for Impact Ultimate Insiders. The action continues Saturday, August 13th, with the Second City Slam, as the company's television trucks will capture all of the in-ring action for upcoming episodes of Impact's flagship weekly TV show on Access TV, 8 p.m. Thursdays. So much happening. Got to be there for Chicago. And who will be there will be all the talent, including one of the newest acquisitions, a top talent, Killer Kelly, is with Impact Wrestling. And thank you, Killer Kelly. So what is it like now to be a part of Impact Wrestling and to be going to this event in the Chicago area?
Oh, I'm so excited. I've been to Chicago once, and I absolutely loved it. I can't wait to be back. Can't wait to have a deep dish pizza, or maybe two. And, of course, wrestle for Impact. I want to see everyone there, and I can't wait to kill someone.
Hey, you mentioned that deep dish pizza, and so are you more of a pizza lover for thick pizza than the thin slice, or you could go both ways on that?
Oh, I love any pizza. Literally any pizza goes.
Is Killer Kelly getting any toppings on that pizza, or are we just going with the cheese?
Oh, yeah, the deep dish pizza doesn't have any toppings, right?
Yeah, you can put toppings on anything, but if you're going regular deep dish, then go for it. I say go for it.
Yeah. I'll try the good old one.
Hey, it's such an interesting journey, and reading about you, learning about you. You're originally from Portugal, and I was so curious because was there even a wrestling scene in Portugal? What is that like coming from Portugal and even trying to get started in pro wrestling in Portugal?
Well, Jim, it's quite difficult. It's very, very difficult because there's no wrestling scene in Portugal. And actually, to start training, it was very, very hard. Basically, it was just a couple of friends that decided to start a place where people could learn wrestling. And basically, every weekend, on Saturdays, we would go there, hang out, and just, play wrestling. But for me to take it to the other level, I had to move out of Portugal and find a place where I could actually wrestle for a living.
Well, when you're in Portugal and you're growing up, were you involved in sports?
Yes. I was a professional swimmer until I was let's say 12, 11. And I did gymnastics as well and played tennis with my brother. And, yeah, I love sports, and I still do.
Well, the interesting thing there, too, is, and I knew you were so young, but even at that young age, are you thinking about Olympics and things like that?
Oh, I definitely was in swimming, but unfortunately I had to stop because of very unfortunate news. My parents divorced, and it was very, very messy, and somehow they took me off the swimming team, so that was very sad.
Well, when you're going through that, I mean, family situations happen, so you just have to, you deal with it the best you can. So from there, you move on, and now, what were your interests? Was this even at a young age after that you're thinking, you're watching pro wrestling, you like it, I'm going to get involved in it, or was it something that happened later on?
It happened later on when I was about 13, 14. When I started seeing the diva shirts and stuff like that, even though it was like a long shot, I knew that I wasn't gonna be able to participate in anything like that. And so when I was like 14, 15, I started to think of it like, oh my God, this is my dream. I really want to be a pro wrestler. But when I started watching, I was just so in love by the spectacle of it.
When you first got started in pro wrestling, about what time was that and how old were you?
I was 14. Yeah, I found somewhere to train when I was 14 and never stopped since.
Well, that's very interesting, too, to get started at a young age. And I know you mentioned that Portugal really didn't have much with pro wrestling, but still, you're getting started at such a young age. When you transition, and I believe then it was wXw Wrestling Academy in Germany, which is really where you got your foot in the door and start getting the training. What was that like? How did you get there? How did you even find the place?
When I was around 24, 25, I was like, okay, I'm getting older. I need to try this wrestling thing once and for all. Like, I need to see if I can make it. So I started Googling for best schools in the world. I found Storm School, which is actually where my Portuguese original trainer trained at. So it's all because of Lance Storm, the reason why I'm here. I found it was very expensive for me at the time, so I found best schools in Europe, and wXw was at the top of the list. So I went there for a week, I trained, lived there, and then I decided to move just a couple of months after and really pursue this thing, and it worked out.
It has worked out for you, and you've traveled the world, and now you're with Impact Wrestling. I'm curious, because you mentioned Lance Storm. Did you have thoughts of going to Canada and training there?
Yes, I did. But unfortunately, I didn't have the 3 months that it was required for the training camp. So, yeah, I didn't go because of that, and because it was expensive for me at the time.
And what was it like wrestling for wXw? Because in reading about that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there Toni Storm, Veda Scott, Lufisto, there was a lot of really good talent with wXw.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, Toni started to get her reps in. It was in wXw as well. And it just feels amazing to be part of that wXw history and share the ring with people like that, such amazing wrestlers and workers. And yeah, the wXw is great. I love wXw.
Did you have a plan B just in case the pro wrestling did not work out?
So I went to college, and I'm actually an editorial designer. So that was my plan B. And when I moved to Germany, I still worked as a freelancer for a Portuguese design company. So I still had that little fallback plan. But I was very invested in making this work, and when I put something in my mind, I have to do it. I have to go all the way through, and I think this is like the power of it's not positivity, it's the manifesting things. So I manifested that for so long that it had to happen, and fortunately it did.
You paid your dues, you put the time in, and you had the mindset of it too, which the mental aspect of the game is so much important, just as well as the physical aspect. But you got to tell me this, what things did you design, or what was that all about? Because I'm not familiar with that.
So I basically design anything, but my major is basically designing magazines. So before I really put 100% into wrestling, I wanted to work at a fashion magazine like Vogue and just being an editorial designer and design the whole magazine. That was my passion.
That is so cool. And now, hey, I'm going to transition it this way. So what about your ring gear? Because the ring gear is so important. Was that something that then you came up with your own ideas and designs for your own ring gear?
Exactly. I also have a degree in fashion design.
Have you thought about making ring gear for others?
Oh, no. I don't make my own gear. I designed it because it's too hard. Like, that's hard work.
You're more in the creative process, the thought process, than the actual physical labor of the making of the gear.
Yeah.
Oh, well, now I'm putting you on the spot. Is there any ring gear that comes to mind that you've seen and you look at and then you're like, whoa, that one has cool ring gear?
So actually, for my first gear, I got inspired by Taylor Wilde's gear. I loved her gear that I made something really, really similar for my first gear.
And Taylor, I believe, was maybe the first Impact Wrestling Knockout Tag Team Champion. With I want to say maybe with Sarita was a team that they had.
Yeah.
So that's so cool how that comes around to this now, and you're part of Impact Wrestling. Geez, what are your thoughts of this Impact Wrestling roster? They've had so much outstanding talent, and especially women over the years, really have generated this revolution of actual pro wrestling with women's wrestling. What are your thoughts of the roster now? And hey, and meeting Gail Kim.
So first, let me talk about meeting Gail Kim. It was a dream come true. Gail was one of my first favorite female wrestlers. I loved and love her. I was just completely obsessed with Gail. So it was crazy meeting her and actually being able to work with her. And the whole roster, don't even get me started. It's amazing. Like, so many talented women that I want to wrestle that I haven't wrestled in a one-on-one match. I haven't wrestled any of them. So I'm really excited to finally be able to do that.
Well, you're Killer Kelly, and you're a badass, and you could stand with anybody. I'm curious, though, but hearing you talk like that, when not only you're meeting Gail Kim, but Gail Kim has her eyes on you as a professional wrestler, what does that part of it mean to you?
It's unbelievable. Her liking me as a professional wrestler, it was like a dream come true.
Just so amazing. And with Impact Wrestling, this is so cool because when you're first starting out and you're so young, and as you're going through the process, what are family and friends thinking about all this? Are they thinking like, oh, she's determined, but we don't know. Maybe she should, good thing she went to college, or just how supportive and just what is it like? Or did they think, she'll do this for a little while and that'll be it? What was the thought and mindset there from family and friends?
Well, that was exactly it. They were supportive, but at the same time, they were like, okay, let her try this. At least she has a fallback plan. She can be a designer. She can have a real job. But still supportive. And now that actually that's my full-time job, they're like, oh, wow, she really made it happen. That's amazing. So they're really proud of it.
That is so amazing. And I'm curious too, have you got to wrestle back in Portugal now? And if not, has family and friends been able to come to any of your matches, shows?
I actually wrestled the last time, it was 3 years ago, and it was kind of a hero's welcome. It was amazing. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It's just I feel like I was the most nervous I've ever been before a match, because it was my home country, my whole family watching me, and it was just surreal.
Oh, that must have been a classic, awesome moment, too. And did you get through the match okay, or were you, like, peeking out of the corner of your eye to see what they're doing?
No. Everything went okay, yeah. During my entrance, I was just like, oh, shit, my family is right there.
You're walking out trying to be this badass, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, there's family.
Yeah, oh, it's so weird.
Oh, that's so great. All right, so we'll wrap this up, and thank you so much for the time. It's so interesting, too, because you're active on Twitch, and you have watch-alongs of pro wrestling shows, events, but you also are into horror games. And I'm wondering, are you a big horror movie buff?
Yes, I am. I love everything horror-related.
What are your go-to horror movies?
So my favorite movie ever is Silence of the Lambs. So that is my go-to when I'm sick, when I'm happy, when I'm sad. And then I have my favorite horror movie is Nightmare on Elm Street. I absolutely love Freddy Krueger.
Both psychological horror flicks, too. They really delve into the mind.
Yes, that really tells you who am I as a person.
Oh, it does. Oh, my gosh. Hey, now I know it's a little different, but is Halloween your favorite holiday then?
Yeah, no.
Well, listen, I won't go into detail, but in Central Florida, there's a big Spooky Con. And I'm just curious if you know about it or have ever been to Spooky Con.
No, I've never been to Spooky Con, and I definitely want to go.
Oh, definitely. This sounds like this is something right up your alley, because from the past to the present, they have so many guests there and so many things to do, and it's all centered on horror films, horror movies, horror games, and I believe it's an annual event. I don't think it's twice a year. I think it's once a year. But it's really a hoot. It's really a big-time thing. I know that's something that if you look it up, you'll find the information and be able to possibly make it out there if your schedule permits and you're not starring with Impact Wrestling during that time on TV, pay-per-views, whatever it is, that you'll be able to do that and have fun with it as well. And maybe, who knows, maybe even set up your own booth or do something there.
Oh, that would be awesome. That would be amazing. I have to look into it.
All right, so thank you so much for the time, and it was so interesting. I think your story is so interesting, and I'd be remiss without asking. So Impact Wrestling, big shows coming up August 12th and 13th in the Chicago area. I'm curious, is there a backstory? Is there something where you got your big break to get signed with Impact Wrestling? Somebody saw you, someone suggested it, or there was an event you were at. Was there anything like that happened for you?
Well, it was rather quick. I was here in the States, and I got a message 2 days before the women's tag team tournament asking if I was able to do the show. I said yes. Right after the show, the interest was there. It was super quick.
And how do you draw just from Killer Kelly? Killer Kelly in ring compared to Killer Kelly away from the ring. How do you draw into that when you're going out there to wrestle and to perform?
Oh, it's easy. It's super easy. That's basically how I am in my brain. So it's very, very easy.
Very authentic then. And all right, so you have the floor. Do you have any information you would like to give out about your Twitch or anything else for fans to follow for Killer Kelly?
Oh, of course, yeah. If you guys want to see me play horror games, just go to twitch.tv/Killer Kelly. All of my social media, Instagram.com, Kelly Wrestling, Twitter.com, Kelly_WP, and I have a fanhouse.app/Killer Kelly, which is basically like a Patreon where I share my day-to-day and everything like it.
And there you go, Impact Wrestling, Access TV, 8 p.m. Thursdays, big events in Chicago. So thank you so much. And hey, if the shoulder's bothering you, Dr. Ross backstage, one of the best. Just giving you that info. Thank you so much, Killer Kelly.
Thank you so much.